hoping to have an authoritative voice, like simply Newbille to talk to us, or the director of Parks and Rec. And we don't, obviously, so the next step is to get their attention. Well, we have their attention, and to get it enough so that they show up, I guess, the next time. So thank you for being here. Thank you also to the tanque players for being here. I want to make it very clear that we like your presence in the park. We don't want to stop that. We just want some more input. I'm Will Jordan Cooley. I grew up on the 30th block of Broad, and my family has been here since the 70s, and so we've been a part of this park for a little bit. I suspect that this problem, like most, is a matter of missing communication or miscommunication. And it seems that a few planning conversations were skewed in who they represented. And that led to a footprint, funding, and a timeline that more represented a particular use of the park than the wider variety of uses that existed. And that is the problem. We've made some handouts to help alleviate that communication, and that seems the clear next step. As of this moment, 220 residents have signed a petition saying that they did not know about this and they want a chance for input. That seems like a very clear signal. On the handout, you have a framing at the top of what now, followed by who to call and who to email, and a suggestion of what to say. We think that the Director of Parks and Rec, Christopher Frelt, is probably the priority person to reach, and he seems to have the right balance of bandwidth, skin in the game, and the power to halt the construction and start the process for community input. He's followed by Council Member Newbille and Mayor Avula. We think that they would be good people to contact, but Frelk is probably the person to put pressure on immediately. Longer term, I hope that we can figure out a better way of organizing public input. The routes for that seem to have missed most of us, and we need to expand them and make sure it's easy for people to get involved. It doesn't take finding out about a meeting at Powhatan Community Center, which is apparently when this planning happened in 2024. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Erica Stanley. I am a Richmond resident since 2020.
Hey, Will, the speaker I don't think is working.
I'm standing too close
There we go.
and not holding. I have to eat my mic. Hi, can you hear me? Yeah. Excellent. So I'm Erica Stanley. I'm a resident since 2020, but I have been visiting this block of Churchill since the 90s. Actually became friends with Will's older sister Bree, and that's my connection to the neighborhood for a long time. And so when we relocated, we moved to the 2900 block and feel very lucky. This is our primary park. We are pretty much, we call ourselves power users for the past 5+ years. We've had the joys of seeing renovations to the playground equipment, which our kiddo is an active user of. We've gotten the chance to play petanque with the bullfrogs, which we love because I grew up playing bocce. I'm now a co-steward of the community garden, and so I feel pretty tied in and invested in this space. I also recognize as a 20+ years communications professional how this fell apart a little bit. If I'm a daily user and I'm connected at multiple points to this process, to this space, to possible changes. I participated in the Richmond Inspire surveying, and I didn't have this information. How are my neighbors that aren't as active or use in different ways or don't have so many touch points, how are they getting the invitation to participate? How are they being reached with information so that their voice can also be heard? I think one of the most important things about community organizing is that we decenter our own needs and experience, or excuse me, our own wants and experiences to recognize the needs of those that are pushed to the margins, that don't have the capacity, the information, the bandwidth to show up to a Churchill Association meeting maybe, or even to, like, this is reflected in PTA participation too. I think it's really important that if we are doing a project, and I have had this happen, if I'm doing a project and I do outreach and I get no public comment, I don't think that means the public has no comment. I think I haven't reached my audience. And so that's what I am really focused on making repair for, and investing in a better path forward for all of us, because all of us are vital users. All of us deserve to have a voice in how our park is beautified and updated and invested in and maintained. And all of us care clearly very much, right? We're here on a Sunday afternoon together, beautiful day, and we're taking time to come and have a dialogue. So I want to open this up, starting with Karen Rankin of the Bullfrogs to give public comment, and then open it up broader to ask other folks to share their feedback and input at this time if you'd like to. 2 community agreements. We got to keep this kind. Nobody's sign on their neighborhood door says, "I got mine." It says, "Be kind." So please remember that we are all human beings with value and worth here today. And secondly, let's speak from personal experience, because that's what is needed. Our voice, our experience, our hopes for this shared space. Thank you so much. Thank you. Karen, would you come on up? Thank you so much.
No, it's a public park. This is a public gathering. I have to record this.
You got a permit?
Excuse me?
Permit for this meeting.
I didn't organize the meeting. It's a public park.
Do you have a permit for playing? You can ask to stop recording. I don't like to be filmed. Doesn't have to be.
Well, it's just to establish a public record for what went on. That's all.
Well, let's not do letter by the law when you guys aren't on the letter by the law, okay? He's just nervous on camera. That's the whole reason.
Well,
Okay?
but people who aren't able to make this need to understand what
You
happened.
record the voice.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Thank you.
Me too. I identify with that.
Okay, thank you. The Bullfrogs and myself, well, no, it's personal experience, myself. I have been in this neighborhood since 2001.
Let's put the mic a little bit closer.
Oh, sorry. I have been in this neighborhood since 2001. I have been using this park since 2005. I have been advocating for this playground park since then. I am a part of the Bullfrogs. I am a neighbor. I am part of the Friends of Chimborazo Playground, and I'm a CHA member. And I don't make any bones about any of that. None of that's a secret. Anybody who comes up to talk to me will know. We have been talking with Parks Department, the Bullfrogs, for a long time to get this expansion. Parks does not move quickly. We're still waiting on a water fountain that we asked for 7 years ago. They move on their own time. They do not give quick notification on when they're going to do anything. So sometimes we come into the playground and they've done things we didn't know that they had planned, but we've asked for. So we had 2 weeks notice. We could have done a better job of letting people know. I fully admit that. We will work with all of you to do better in the future. But I can't change what's happened. So all I can say is that let's work together and let's try to communicate better. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Karen. And I want to open it up to
Sam Runner. I enjoy walking around this general area. I just have a quick, I guess, procedural question. What is the upset and concern here? Are we upset about how this turned out? Are we upset that there just wasn't enough notice and comment? Because at the moment, if this is an outcomes-based thing, I don't really see what the problem is. It's just a marginal encroachment on some grass that, if you look at Google Maps, you can see is often dead anyway. We have a giant grass park over there, one over there. We have a playground over there. We have Atlee Elementary School just a few more blocks that way. If the issue is notice and comment, then sure, we can talk about that. But as is, I went and looked. I was not familiar with this organization previously, but their website's been online since at least 2010. They've clearly been present in the community. I saw them all out here on Thursday night. So that's just my general establishment question. What is the outrage and what is the desired outcome or resolution here? Thank you.
yeah. You want to speak to that?
First of all, the bullfrogs are awesome. The park looks better because of y'all. So is the Churchill Association. Y'all are volunteers and you go on when it's inconvenient, and we're all very grateful because we benefit from that collectively as a group with little or no effort from us. So thank you. I do think that it's not either or. Either we get a dog park or we get a bullfrog park. Okay, I'm not tanque. Sorry, I looked it up. I didn't get the phonetics on that. There's a way to bridge both, I think, with community input. The only other thing I would say is I know that Parks and the Beautification is a committee, which is a part of the Churchill Association. So if someone is on the committee or has been a past president or vice president or a current member of the Churchill Association board and is also a member of the Bullfrogs, that does pose a conflict of interest. So that's all I wanted to say, and thanks to everyone.
Thank you. I'll keep it open, but I just want to have one quick interjection on that question. I think that in terms of, is it just about communication and notice? That is a piece of it, but there are a lot of layers to how this came into being and the lack of information. And the groups, the civic associations and friends of groups and the groups involved, and how that gets pretty obscured for folks to recognize what the relationships are, how folks are advocating on behalf of the space. And the sentiment that I'm hearing back is that it feels like the wants of a select group, albeit a very involved 45-member, 20-year plus organization, being advanced before the needs of many. And so I think that kind of touches at the root of more of the problem that a lot of folks are reporting back to us with not being informed. So, thank you.
Hi, I'm Connor. I live over on 32nd. I just wanted to say my little boy loves baseball, and so much that he had his baseball birthday party this year, which just got paved over. 60 people, his and cousins and everybody came out to play baseball with him, and we don't get to do that anymore. So you said, what's the problem? That's it. You're saying, oh, there's parks over there, there's parks over here. Well, those with children know that one park in one corner of the neighborhood that feels very insulting to understand how much we have to use our city spaces. Most of us live in row houses. We have yards that are maybe 20 square feet. It's really great to have these green parks. That green space was valuable to us, and now it's taken away. So I am upset. I haven't been very good with the decisions that are made here. My last point is, I go to this park. I'm a multi-user. I'm a power user too, my kids and I. And we've hit the QR code, and we've tried to sign up and become friends of Chimbo Playground. And I've not gotten a response. And I just believed it was a defunct group. And to hear that it's an active group and actively working to take away space from my kids is the reason I'm upset. You asked, that's my answer. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Davi, and my mom is Erica.
we'll come back to that.
Thank you so much. Hello, hi, my name is Ryan Walter. I live over on 24th Street. I'm also a power user. I go to this park 3-4 times a week, either walking or playing petanque. I've made a lot of wonderful friends that way and come closer to the community. I've lived in the community for 6 years, but I came here for years beforehand, just like many of you. I have an issue with the framing of how it was just presented of those parks are there to take space away from other people. They're not there to take space away from other people. They are there to expand the space for the people who actively use the park consistently and have for over 20 years. They went through the proper channels to get that expanded, and I agree that the proper channels need to be expanded to make it so that other people can more easily find out information about that. I am sorry that the QR code did not work so that you could not sign up to be a friend of Churchill or part of the Churchill Association. However, they still exist. Those organizations are there and encourage people to be active and involved in them. And if we take away anything from this, we should be more involved with it. But those avenues were there. They went through the proper avenues. It is not taking away space from others. It is adding space for additional kinds of play. And as Karen likes to say, and I completely agree with this, everyone deserves to play no matter what the age. There are 4 petanque courts in the city of Richmond. Now there will be 6. There are half a dozen green spaces in the immediate vicinity. You could throw a petanque ball to that one. I don't think that this is taking away from others. I think this is expanding a space that people already use actively who went through the proper permitting channels to get it done. And I just think that that is something that needs to be respected, and I'm sorry that there is upsetment about it, and there needs to be additional communication moving forward for other issues like this. However, it is not something they did wrong. They were not vitriolic about it. They were not taking it or stealing space from other people. They're expanding the area that they play in, just as if when this park went through expansion with additional playground equipment. It's the same thing. So I find the distaste towards that pretty distasteful myself.
Hey, my name's Donnie Glass, and we've been in the neighborhood for 8 years now, and I own Brisette, the restaurant right over here, just to put some context into like where I am in the neighborhood. My grandparents were born here. My great-grandparents are buried in Oakwood Cemetery. We've been around for a minute. I think the important thing that that we've touched on but we haven't dug into is that there is this black box within the city of Richmond that we can put information in. That information then comes out randomly, with random timing, with random budgetary concerns. And there's nobody here from the city of Richmond to answer for that. And that's like the $1 million question, right? This gentleman's right. They went through every proper channel. They did everything by the book to get something done in the city, which I feel like a lot of people complain that things happen too slowly and there's too much red tape and there's too much friction to do something. And this club, like, I don't personally care for the expansion of the petanque courts, but let's call a spade a spade. What the club did is not wrong ethically to want more space for their club. We can take issue with maybe some gray areas or nuance of like, well, they should have told more people and they should have this and they should have that, and all that can be true at the same time. But the problem is that there is nobody here from the city of Richmond. There isn't a council member, there isn't a parks department person, there is nobody here to stand here and say, well, this is why this paperwork got held up for this long and this is why the funding went to that. And yeah, if we put it to like a community vote, I think the petanque court or the petanque club would probably, and don't let me speak for you, agree that we would rather have working bathrooms in this park than 2 more petanque courts. And and we can be on their side about this kind of thing, you know? Like, I don't think it needs to come down to a us versus them, especially given the fact that they did do everything by the book. So like, feel how you want to feel and be upset about it. And there are moments where like those feelings are valid on every angle and from everybody. But what can happen going forward to make sure that something like this doesn't happen again is to be involved in your city and to take issue with the fact that your council person isn't here and that the parks department isn't here, and pick up the phone and call them and annoy them. Be the most polite, annoying person you've ever thought of and get everybody else that lives on your block to do the same thing. And remember this, when the chair is vacant or there's another vote to be had, is to get somebody, to get somebody in that cares about being here today. So I don't know, that's just like throwing another problem out there, and I don't mean to just be griping and complaining about government, but that is the actual step forward. That is the way to not have this happen again, is to remain involved, be present, and when it comes election time, put up a candidate that you think would show up and at least mediate or answer to this in some capacity. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Evan Bernowski. We live over at 32nd in Chimbo. And yeah, I echo really a lot of what Donnie just said. And I'm going to put something a little more concrete on it. I looked over both the proposed and the approved budgets for the last 4 years. They go into no mention whatsoever on any of the projects that would be used for parks improvement in any park in the city. They just say that there's $12 million. That's useless information. And then also, there's no information on the Parks Department capital improvement plan on any projects that will be completed. I don't understand why not. I wouldn't even be able to go to a city council meeting and have a useful conversation about specific projects, pros and cons, if I want to see one over the other, because I don't have the information that would let me inform myself, and that's wrong. That's what something that needs to change.
Friends and neighbors, good afternoon. Matt Helms. I live at 130 North 32nd Street and have been here for 32 years, I guess, a long time. Change is always difficult, and I think uninformed change is the worst type. We've been trying to get clarity from City Council and Parks, as was previously stated by several people. I think that the best way to move forwards on this is try and contact City Parks and find out what the ordinance actually says about land use for public parks. Who makes the decisions? How is the public notified? Even for any zoning change within the city, a sign is posted in front of the property with a phone number on it. You can contact the zoning, or you can go to the zoning meeting. If there is no meeting, there is no phone number, nobody answers your emails, and rightfully so. As a citizen, we probably could have looked more into this over time, but there should be a simpler avenue to understand when change is coming and what that change is going to be. I have no acrimony towards anyone within the current situation and what's happening, but I do with the city and their complete lack of what I feel is either attendance to this meeting or caring for the public park system that should be used by everyone. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ben Lazarus. I live on 32nd Street as well. So I guess like what Donnie said sits with me on a level, which is, yeah, obviously the lack of engagement with the city is like outrageous here. And the fact that the process itself is so opaque and like seemingly, to Evan's point, like there is no transparency of any kind. And so all of that is like, I think table stakes ridiculous that it needs to change. But I like to speak to some of the, what feels like acrimony in this space right now between the folks who are making use of the pétanque courts and the folks who aren't. I think like from our perspective, those who are interested in preserving the green space and a little frustrated with the fact that there's this expansion is that it does feel like those who were more close to the process and know how it works got the outcome that they wanted because they knew about the opaqueness of the process. And those of us who are more passive participants in just bringing our kids to the park, this is like a 0 to 100 surprise that this existed at all. And so like that there is it feels like a kind of insider baseball of how this got done, I think is a big source of the frustration for those of us who are frustrated, which is that y'all know the process and we didn't even know that there was a process. And so for you to say we followed the rules. Sure, you followed the rules, absolutely. The courts are built because you followed the rules, but we're also all neighbors. And so to not seek out comment, to not seek out a conversation before even asking for an expansion and saying, hey, what would you think about an expansion, neighbors? What do you think about Paytalk? What do you think about our club? What do you think if we used this space to expand our footprint? And that conversation didn't happen at all, I think helps to explain some of the frustration that some of us feel. And so I'll just kind of leave it at that, because I don't think anything anybody said here has been wrong, but just to try and explain and describe where some of our frustration is coming from, it just feels like this is something that was done in the dead of night that none of us knew about, and all of a sudden, you know, some precious green space that our kids play baseball on, that our kids run around on, and that, like, the opportunity cost of understanding what could have happened instead, none of us had any kind of say in that. And so I think that's where at least a lot of my frustration comes in.
Hi, my name's Megan. I live on the 24th block of Churchill. I think I have a bit of a different perspective. I actually moved here from Cleveland 2 years ago. I don't have children. I'm brand new to the neighborhood. But in my first month of being here, I met Karen and the rest of the Bullfrogs, and they've been nothing but open and kind and inviting. Along with that, whenever I walk around the neighborhood, they have all the posters for joining the Churchill Association, and it's free. And I've gone to that website so many times, and I've donated, because I want to support the community, and I believe that the people that are more involved in the community are doing what they think is best. I don't think they're going in with the intention of, like, ooh, let's take away green space from children. I think they're going through and, one day I hope to have kids, and I hope they can grow up in this, and I hope that they can go play petanque and get to know people and meet other people and other members of the community. But if I didn't want that, then I would join the Churchill Association. I would get more involved. I would find the time to be involved. And then just one other thing. 2 weeks ago, my boyfriend and I, we were really bored, and it was a beautiful day outside, and we went and bought gloves, mitts to play baseball, and we went to Chimbo Park over there, and we played baseball, and we flew kites, and there was plenty of green space. There's so much green space, and there still is green space over here. There's so much to do over here. There's so much to do over there. I just think it's kind of crazy to say that we have no green space, and we have Libby Hill Park, and people sled during the winter in Libby Hill Park. And you have Chimbo Park where we were running around with a kite, and it was so much fun, and there was so much room. I just think that because they're reallocating some of the space for a specific activity, that doesn't take away from the other opportunities that you have around the neighborhood. So that's it.
I want to answer to a little bit of that just briefly. I really appreciate the offer of all of our companion spaces, our adjacent spaces. We use those as well. I think that if we kind of pull it back into right here, that we look at the space that is here, acknowledging that the process is slow and opaque even to the people who are advocating on behalf of the playground. We see the playground equipment, which has been, restored or added to in 21-22 with a very active community engagement campaign that Friends of Chimbo Playground put forward. It was incredibly well communicated, lots of notice, lots of engagement opportunities. They got additional structures, new mulch, but now that mulch has turned into dirt, and there are tree roots, and there's old landscaping fabric, and there are hundreds of children that play here throughout the week, and this is the surface that they get to play on. So thinking about the daily active users, the regular, consistent, not even daily, the consistent users of this space all deserve safe spaces to play, of all ages, right? The basketball players are here sharing spaces, right? The kids are here sharing spaces. We all deserve this space, and I think that, this idea, well, you just have green space elsewhere. If this is the space that you choose to tend, and you don't know about meetings and you are here, that needs to change, right? That information really needs to be out there for the regular users. And so let's look at what that feels like for one group of knowledgeable users of the space who do know the process, who can advocate for themselves very effectively, superseding the needs of hundreds of people who also use the space who were not aware of the process. And this is how we start to mend that, right? This is how we make repair, help people get involved, give pathways to participation, make sure that information is going back out to the community from the black box, right? We need people who liaise with the city and can get information for our community. That's really important. We should all be leaning on any lever of power that we can to be able to provide good information back to the city, and we all have to do that together because this is our park.
Hello, can you hear me okay? All right, good. All right, I'm Barbara Cotter. I'm chairman of the Churchill Association Parks and Beautification Committee. And I work with all of the different groups that we have for parks throughout the Churchill area. And we encourage people to participate as much as possible. And I'd like to, and I will say that each of the parks, you know, the challenges are different and the work can be very hard, and volunteers are often needed for some of the work. Anyway, I just want to say, and I want to say for the Chimbo Playground, you know, we're talking today about just the baton courts, and I do want to say that there's a bigger picture than that. That actually, the Bullfrogs and the Friends of Chimbo Playground are working at trying to make overall improvements in the park. It's not just the courts. They're looking at water fountains, which, you know, I too, when I see that some groups are advocating for something that the city should provide, I add my voice to that as the chairman of the Parks and Beautification Committee. But it's the water fountains, sanitation, which the city has said that they will be looking at. And then I will tell you, there was a surprise baseball hoop was put up for young kids who are interested in basketball, but really can't get out here on the courts. And it was supposed to be, the city was going to do the foundation, and part of it was going to be for the surprise basketball, and the other part was going to be space for little kids to be able to ride on, you know, do hopscotch or whatever kinds of things they wanted. And we've been advocating for this, so it's finally going to happen. In addition, you know, I'm not exactly sure when this will occur, but the city is looking at the surface on the playground. The surface on the playground is not the best surface, and the city has identified that they are planning to put a new and better surface that matches the standards that exist today. That's in the plan. We don't know exactly when that's occurring. That's a question that we have. Is that going to occur now, or is that going to occur? Maybe it's in the new fiscal year. But that is to be part of the effort. And I will, and I would say that as far as the baton courts go, the city was looking at. This is the one place there are baton courts in the city. Different parks have different activities, different functions, different facilities. This is the park that has the baton courts. And the city would also like these baton courts to be used by children. And they're planning to have maybe the children who are in camp make use of it. So there's intent to make a greater use of those courts that are being put in. And I will say that it's not really all grass area, because that line where it is put in was used as a place for having gravel to get over to fixing the wall over there near Mount Elms's property. So that's, and we were for a long time asking, please remove the gravel, which did not happen. And I think it's sad that the community wasn't aware, no doubt about it. And then also, and I will say that it's been the Petanque group have been asking for some time. I think they had an opportunity when there was a reference to the city and I think Powhatan Center giving input. That was really just the start of their project called Inspire, getting input from everybody on what kinds of changes they would like to see or additions they'd like to see in the parks across Richmond. And so there was input that was given then, but there was discussion many times and also request, could there be other parks that are used for the Petanque court? And the city did settle on this particular one. It's, I'm really sorry that not all of this was aware, and I think that there was information, some information on the monthly report, or the bi-monthly reports that come out, identifying that this was something that the group was interested in, and they were discussing it with the city. So there may be, and maybe there should be a better way to communicating and making people know, and also to have the broader engagement for everything for the playground, because there's a lot of work in the playground. There's that people do who are actively involved, which means even cleaning up the trash, following up if things aren't cleaned, cleaning up the leaves or the trees, many things that go on. And so we're recruiting people, and we do have we have a garden list for anybody who is willing to help in any of the parks, and people choose what park they would like to work on. And we have that, and the Churchill Association is developing a new website, and in that website we are going to be highlighting the individual parks. We're also going to make it possible for people to say they'd like to help or be involved, and to say that not only in general for the parks, but also to say it specifically for a particular park, for Chimborazo Playground, Chimborazo Park, Patrick Henry Park. So hopefully we can find a way so that there's greater engagement, and then hopefully, and I think you have two groups here really for this playground. I mean, in addition to the community garden, you have the bullfrogs, and then you have the Friends of Chimborazo Playground. And hopefully many of you who have expressed concern can be active in the playground group, or join the bullfrogs too and help shape what happens. So thank you very much for listening. And I will say I'm probably the oldest resident here. I've lived over 40 years on Franklin Street, and I love the parks. I mean, truly, we have the most amazing parks in Church Hill, and we have incredible parks that were designed by Wilfred Cutshaw. If you don't know about him, look him up. He was astounding right after the Civil War.
Any different from being a member of more than one organization, and does not imply collusion or conspiracy, as has been mentioned in social media. As far as social media goes, I think discussions like this in person is so much better. Yes, Karen acknowledged that, yes, when we found out when the addition would be actually happening, we were just excited and didn't think about contacting neighbors to see what they thought. That was a mistake. Okay, we could have. We didn't have to, but we could have. And I hope that happens a lot in the future. But face-to-face is better than online. I have actually gone on social media, which is not usual for me, and seen things said about our group and the people in it that are not true, exaggerations, very biased, due to misinformation and lack of information, both. Okay. I do have some information from a meeting in January with the parks, with representatives of the parks right over on those picnic tables, when we discussed going ahead, whether they would go ahead, and no decision was made that day, but whether they would go ahead anytime this fiscal year on the expansion. At that time, the expansion, there will be paving of that section under the surprise hoop with a special, some kind of surface that's approved. For people, you go to Bird Park. Okay? If you want to play petanque, you come here. Just an example. All right, thank you.
Hi. My name's Michelle Edmonds, and I'm a longtime resident. I just have really questions. How much is enough? How many petanque courts do you need? And I sound angry, I shouldn't. And then are you saying that we are turning these old petanque courts, are we concreting them over for children? I don't understand why we need so much space. To me, it's ugly. They're ugly rectangles, and I'm embarrassed. I would kind of like to play petanque, but I'm kind of embarrassed at how much space they take up in a public park. It's fine. It's my opinion. It's my opinion, and that's where I am. And so I have questions. I'd like to know where I can get answers to the questions. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Jessica Jordan. I think I've got Barbara beat because I've been here for 47 years. And our first house was over there on Broad Street. So my kids grew up playing in this park. And back in the day, they actually had a little soccer team. Now, I'm wondering, and this is a question for somebody, why do we have one soccer goal over there? Because as far as I know, you need two for soccer, okay? And next, now that we've taken up that entire field with half the field, there's not room for a soccer field over there now. So what kind of planning was that to get the soccer field gold over there and then take up most of the field with the petanque courts?
I think just real quick, the plan that is already in play and is that Parks and it sounds like Bullfrogs members are privy to, people need a chance to see it. If you've seen the plan, we all want to know what the plan is because the impacted, okay, that's fair. This is the misinformation or the missing information, right? This is where we're trying to get more clarity, a whole picture of what's happening. If there are planned and they're acting on various improvements that have been requested for years, the people who use the space need to have a chance to weigh in on the plan. And so that's one of the goals coming out of this. Everybody would really like to see the plans.
Hi, Sam Runner again. If I could just very quickly. So we've been at this for over 50 minutes. I feel like we've very thoroughly beaten the horse of what the problem is. So just in terms of like what solution is. Okay, so everyone seems to be, there's a general consensus. It's a lack of crosstalk, communication, lack of transparency from the city. So what is the actual desired process that should look like? Because I think we can all agree, on the one hand, we don't need a citywide referendum to empty a trash can. On the other hand, it shouldn't be some guy named Gary in the basement of City Hall to demolish this and turn this into a data center. So where is the exact in-between, the compromise that people want, that we can like kind of settle on to like move forward rather than just litigating and airing grievances at one another? Like what should the process be, who should be involved, and how much notice or comment should there be? Because it shouldn't take 20 years, but on the other hand, it shouldn't take a day to make changes. So thank you.
I think longer term, we all agree that we need better communication from the city, and we want to figure out how to set that up. That's a kind of vague goal and something we need to work towards. And so I don't really want to end today with, oh yeah, we needed better communication, point, and we're going to deal with this. I would like to ask them to halt the construction until we've talked about it and we've seen the plans. And that seems like a stick in the butt, but I think that's what's needed to send a clear message to DPR that they can't just go ahead with a la carte request without thinking about the broader community's needs. And that's a concrete action we can take today that's going to make sure that they think about this twice before they do it, because yeah, they did commit $17,000 to this, and if they have to go back on it, that's wasted money. So maybe put $5,000 into actually getting some opinions before committing that money. Concrete action today, and I am happy to volunteer my services to CHA to improve their communication processes.
I see another William and Mary graduate up here. No, I think you don't want it to keep going. I want it to keep going. I'm part of the same community you are, and I think that it sucks that the communication did not happen the way that we all wanted it to happen at this point with, 2020 hindsight. But I also think that every single person here has just as much of an opportunity to be involved in the community as they have. After we're all done here and riled up about it and opinions, go down over time, they're going to still be here fighting for this park, fighting for this community like they have been since 2001, making it better. You want to talk about old petanque courts? Someone mentioned those. Those old petanque courts that they had that they worked with the parks to do are now what this playground's on. They worked to make that space useful, where the tables are, and the playgrounds extend to it. They made this place useful. They gave up that petanque court in order to have more playground equipment for more kids to play. These are people, it's a hoop in the petanque court.
Nobody asked for.
Still there. Still there. And they did ask for it. I am sorry that some people do not feel as if they are as in tune to their community, but I have to say, as someone who is in tune to their community, you had every opportunity to. And I'm sorry you didn't. But that's not their fault. It's not their fault. And I don't want to see it stop either.
I'd like to say one thing to that. I don't want this to be petanque players versus the rest of the community. Like, y'all have done amazing work. We're saying we want more input, and what I would like to ask of the petanque community now is to support us in saying, let's pause this, not tear it out, but let's pause this until we've talked about it more.
You want to spend more money and more time wasting dollars. You want to spend $5,000. You know how hard it is to get $5,000 for public good?
Getting
you want to
people
waste
here
it for more that you had your opportunity. I'm sorry you missed it.
Getting people here did not take $5,000. Getting people here took $40.
You just said use $5,000, that's $17,000.
You're right, and we don't necessarily need that. We could do more of this.
Right there, next page. Right there, that young lady.
There's a lot of people been throwing trash here, and I think maybe a lot of people should be picking up the trash that people throw, and everybody also should be taking care of the swings and all the materials at this playground, and somebody should buy mulch and put them into the areas. And a lot of people also should plant new plants and just also plant other plants that actually don't grow in Virginia.
No native, no non-native.
I don't want this meeting to turn into, it's a great idea to come together and talk. I think maybe we should do this again, probably more than once, so that we can talk about things we want to see in this playground. When the surprise hoop went in and the soccer practice, it was not ever meant to be a soccer field because it was never big enough for that, just a practice goal for small children. When those were put in, there was input at that time from parents, which is why they're there. We had parents from the Churchill parents page. I'm not a good Facebooker. They were helping us organize and communicate. They helped us raise funds for the new equipment that was put in. So I would love to have someone or more than someone from that group come and talk to me as my cap goes on for the Friends of Chimborazo Playground. I'm not going to stop being a friend of Chimborazo Playground. I care passionately about this playground and making it a safe space for everyone to use. If somebody wants to get involved, please come to me. I apologize the QR code wasn't working. I had no idea. Now I know, so we'll try to figure out how to fix it. I know nothing about that stuff, but please, I'm here at least twice a week. Just come talk to me, okay? If you want to know something or want to get involved, please come talk to me. I'm an open person, and we should do this again. I think this is a great idea. So maybe we can all work together to make that happen. But thanks for coming. I would like to now get involved in another passionate project. So anybody else has anything?
Can I say one?
Good afternoon. My name is Jake Naga. I serve as the president of the Churchill Association. And so I just wanted to create some clarity around some of the Churchill Association and our role. There is some concern about the communication from the city about the project, and we hear that. I want to make it abundantly clear we are a civic association, and so our responsibility is not to issue public notice. That responsibility lies with the city. That said, we do what we can with our parks and our committees to make sure that the neighborhood is informed. We encourage everyone to participate. We have a monthly meeting on the third Tuesday of every month. We are very focused on advocating for the small businesses in the area, our social media campaign, and shout out to Emily, who does an incredible job of highlighting a lot of things happening in the neighborhood. If there are things happening, let us know. We will share them. We will act as the vehicle to get that information out. I want to clarify, though, that we do not have any authority as it relates to these decisions with the city. However, we are on the side of the residents, and we can partner and advocate for the decisions, the concerns, and leverage those relationships we have with the city to articulate those concerns. So if you are interested in participating, our next meeting is on May 19th. We're happy to have some discussion around this. I don't want to regurgitate this. This has been a really great conversation, and I think it reinforces the fact that those that need to be involved the most are not present today. And so what I'm recognizing is it's creating some tension between us as residents, as neighbors. And so I would just recommend that we kind of step back, refocus on our next approach. And if there are things that you would like to participate in from a Churchill Association perspective, if you would like us to get engaged, my information is on our website, president@churchill.org. Reach out. We're happy to engage and be a supportive partner in how we partner with the city. And so I just wanted to clarify that because CHA has come up and we are here. We do support the community. That is our role. There is a distinction between our authority and what the city's authority is. And so we will continue to communicate information as we have it, as we have access to it, though I also want to be very intentional about explaining the responsibility of the city versus the Churchill Association. So my email is open. If we can help, we will certainly jump on board to advocate, make connections with City Council. That's what we're here for. But I do want to just make sure that everybody understands our responsibility as communication is based off of what we hear from our residents, from our members, from our committees, and that doesn't always mean that we're privileged to all of the information either. And so if you have information that you would like, we do a regular call for information in the newsletter. We are happy to publish op-eds. Let us know, and we are happy to include that information as an opportunity to communicate what's going on in the neighborhood that's important to you. So again, my name's Jake. I'll hang around for a little bit, but feel free to reach out, and we're happy to help bridge those connections and do what we can to support the community.
Hi, my name's Chris. I've got two young kids. We've been in the neighbourhood for 15 plus years now. Just wanted to kind of say the outreach and joining groups and everything is great, and that's the best way to have our own voices heard. But there are a lot of people who don't have the time, don't have the space, don't have the availability to be an active member in those groups. And so while reaching out to the groups is the best way, I think all as leaders of local neighborhood groups need to make the effort to interact with as many people as possible. Especially when something like the Friends group is billing itself, and not billing itself, it is a park group. They're a group of the park where the Bullfrogs, you guys are a club, and so not that you don't care about the park, but you play petanque. The neighborhood park group is for the better of this park, and so they need to make as much effort as possible to reach out directly to anyone who utilizes the park or anyone with any interest, not just through a newsletter or posting the Churchill group. It needs to be active involvement. And from my perspective, the way that the modifications to this playground worked was great. And yes, some of the equipment changed, but they didn't expand the playground. It stayed in its current footprint. And if I remember, there was research, there was surveys, there was QR codes everywhere. And maybe did it expand a little bit that way? Okay, so it did expand. But there was so many surveys about that, and there was active. It felt really like a neighborhood were involved in it. We were funding for months and months and months, and so everyone not only knew what was going on, but they felt invested in it and felt ownership of it, and then it's ended up to a great thing that we've got now. And to go from that to this, to me that's obviously taking a step back, and it's not good. And so to me that's why it kind of hurts a bit more. It's like, hey, the whole neighborhood, the Friends group, did such a good job with information on these modifications. What happened this go round? And that's it.
Yeah, I think we've identified that everybody could have done something a little bit more, and the city is probably the biggest one, right? But that's the one that we have the least direct control over. So I want to focus on what we as this group can do right now. I didn't get enough involved in Chimborazo Playground, apparently. I didn't see these changes coming. I feel that the Friends of Chimborazo Playground could have done a little bit more in outreach if they were planning to expand these existing facilities in this manner. So we all made some mistakes, right? So what can we do? I hope that we can ask them to pause this construction and talk about it more before we continue with it, and couch it within the plans that are going to benefit everybody. And I just want to say that I clear kudzu below Chimborazo Park, and I do that about 8 hours a week. And I don't have a whole lot of mental space after work to sit in meetings and listen to talk about things, but I do have some energy left, and so I clear kudzu. Just that. So the next step that I would like to suggest is y'all call and email these folks on this flyer with those asks. And I hope that the petanque players would like to do it as well.
Yeah, I think that if we can get active, now we're activated, let's take a next step and ask for information. I think it would be really solid to have that plan circulated that Parks is working on, because I saw a media statement from Public Affairs that said there is a plan and that there's money for next steps in 2027, but I don't know what that is, right? And so we would all like to know, what is the plan being enacted in our name, in our space? And so if we can just hit the pause button so that we can all have a fuller picture of what is happening and be able to weigh in, that's going to be a really solid outcome. And then we'll continue to inform folks, and hopefully we can have another community dialogue with city representatives present, and we'll keep folks informed moving forward. Thank you so much for coming out. I appreciate you.